I gave you the preview. I told you what I'd be doing and what I'd be talking about. So without further ado, I'm going to be breaking down both these guys, what I agree with and what I don't agree with. And for the record, even though I know we are a very polar thinking nation, I'm not on either one of these dudes' sides. I believe both of them are grifters, to tell you the truth. But I think that even out of a selfish, self-centered, narcissistic grifter, you can gain some knowledge and you can learn some things and you can learn how to move. But I must say that it does disappoint me that these guys aren't trying to get institutions, and I'm talking about real institutions and banks, you know, if you really talking money, because it would literally take less than half a percentage point of their following. I kid you not. If you got 100,000 followers, half of a percentage point of your followers is 500 people. 500 people times $20 is what? That's 10 racks, right? If my math is correct. That's 10 racks. You can ask 500 people every other month. Bruh, out of all the money do we waste? Do you got $20, man? I'm just asking 500 people for $20 every other month. That right there, you can buy gold with that. And that is pretty much your basis to start issuing out loans. And you can get creative with the loans, you know. Can't give everybody a loan, but, you know, well-qualified buyers. You can start opening up furniture stores, logging companies, building businesses, loaning people money. I mean, just so much more. But instead, we stay mired in conflict and ideological differences that are no more than ideological differences mired in identityism. Because one individual point that I'll maintain is that black men have learned how to be aggressively submissive. That is weak with a hard ass face on it. You get what I'm saying? Like Officer Tatum. And you know, pretty much the black conservative network. Now, I myself am a black conservative, but you'll notice that black conservatives get very few views. It tends to be if you black conservative with a whole bunch of clown element to yourself and a whole bunch of buck dancing, bojangling Officer Tatum, you know, just basically if you're a voice box of white racism, you know, that's what the white system considers conservative. But without further ado, I'm going to let Dane Calloway play, and I will be talking about what I agree with and what I don't agree with as it relates to both these individuals. And I will be talking about the picture that you're looking at in the thumbnail, okay? This is a family that I know in Louisiana, and I'll talk about them. And remember, they are native. They're mixed, but predominantly Native American. Family from Southwest Louisiana. But without further ado, let's let Big Dane play.
Non-white people are too dumb.
Now, this part of the video, he's critiquing what Tariq said about black people not being too smart.
To get smart.
Really?
Yeah.
And so those same people that he calls dumb are the same people supporting and funding his dreams and aspirations.
Now, you could say that both of these guys are the smartest guys in the room. And what I mean when I say the smartest guys in the room, they generally tend to know how to exploit people. They know something that's going on that other people don't know what's going on. They know the extents and the limitations of the internet. And they know certain things like, I, Tariq Nasheed, am never going to meet you in person. And I know for a fact that if I'm sitting up here looking at police gun down black people and incarcerate black people in, you know, jails that look like plantations, there's no need for them to give you reparations. There's no threat. Like, if I got 700,000 of you in jail, like, why do I need to give you reparations? You can't even get yourself out of jail. Like, what the fuck am I going to do? Just be nice and give it to you? Look, you recognize that I'm supreme, right? You call me supreme in dominant society. Okay, let's just end this stupid conversation. I'm giving you no reparations. There's no reason to give it to you. Why? You ain't threatening me. Okay? So Tariq knows that. And he knows that, and he doesn't have a serious reparation strategy. The meeting that he put together in Atlanta in, I think that was 2021. Was that last year or was it 2020? They didn't come away with a lobbyist nor a serious reparations candidate. Reparations and all that talk is done by an extremely small percentile of people. A candidate by the name of Marcel, this guy in South Carolina, just went up against Claiborne. I was hoping that the big thing that people would see is just how little of a community that we are in relative comparison to the general population. If you was to talk to Tariq, Judge Joe Brown, your local hotep, Rizza Islam, and anybody who knows who Dr. John Henry Clark or Bobby Hemmett or Phil Valentine was, you would think that somebody like Marcel Dixon in South Carolina had a chance. But if you smart and if you living in the real world, you know that this so-called conscious community is small. It's almost nothing. That dude didn't stand a chance. And you would think that Claiborne was the biggest clown in the world. I hope that y'all learned something out of that. That dude didn't come close to winning. He didn't even come vaguely close. He was there as a novel token. That's all the topic of reparations and anybody bringing it up is. Your novel and your token. That's it. That's all. I'm straight up telling you. Nobody has any serious strategy trying to get reparations.
Of becoming the biggest scam artists to ever infiltrate the so-called black community. Now, some of you may recall him and others taking shots at me for proving with hard evidence that both Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner are fictional characters created by acts of Congress and their individual foreign and domestic authors. Multiple people would randomly ask these drifters like Tariq that dread that I'm not a Caucasian and that I prove to the world all claims made. How do they feel about working with Dane Calloway?
Now, I will say this. He's not a Caucasian, but he's married to one. And that does matter when you're part of a specific ethnic-driven movement. Imagine if you looked up and seen some Native American guy, you know, Chief Red Cloud, and he got a black girlfriend. Like, damn, Chief. I'm supposed to see you at the powwow doing a dance around the teepee. You know, not to be stereotypical, but damn, you know, you rocking with Bonquisha with the bonnet from Detroit? All right now, Chief. 100 years from now, somebody gonna be claiming, I'm telling you, my great granddaddy was full blood. You get my drill.
And this is how he decided to respond.
And one more thing before I hang up. Won't you and the brother Dane collab, bruh? Y'all talk about the same thing.
No, that nigga's a clown. He's a clown. Yeah, let's just keep it real. No, man. This dude talking about, didn't he say some shit? Harriet Tubman didn't exist. She was made up. Do you believe that?
He said Harriet Tubman and the brother that's supposed to have been a runaway slave. Nat Turner. He said neither one.
Do you believe that?
I believe what was the narrative, bro. I ain't got no choice but to believe, because my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and my other great-grandmother has always told me that they existed. You know what I mean? They said they never had anything. They never was told that they family were slaves.
No,
but,
that's not. No. Okay, no,
you know what I mean?
Okay. Thank you. That's not the point. The point is this dude, this clown nigga talking about Harriet Tubman didn't exist and slavery really didn't exist. Just dumb shit. No, I'm not. No, you don't collaborate with trolls, man. Y'all stop that. When y'all hear something stupid, just acknowledge it's stupid. Y'all know niggas out here just be saying anything for YouTube clicks. That's not who you... We got serious business we doing over here, man. Let's get off that, man. You need to hook up with this clown-ass nigga. No, I don't. No. Don't come over here with that. That's offensive. Motherfuckers over here talking about Harriet Tubman didn't exist and we get... No. I'm not hooking up with nobody who's just saying dumb shit for YouTube clicks. No, I don't need to hook up with them.
So, in attempt to disapprove my claims made and proved, I want you to notice how he didn't provide a drop of information that could possibly debunk the claims I've made still today. He just simply asked the guy, does he believe that? When it's not about what you may believe. It's about what you know based upon what you can actually prove.
Facts. Facts.
I believe those folks out there with big platforms are afraid to debate me concerning my claims made and proved because they either watched my videos on this topic or purchased my book on this topic or both. And
now I'm gonna give a little bit of a tilt, to Dane Calloway. During this war with Ukraine, America made up a character called the Ghost of Kiev. So this is why I got to give the little bit of a tilt right here to Dane Calloway, because the U.S., I mean, they'll do stuff like that. That character was completely made up, the Ghost of Kiev. I'm not saying Harriet Tubman is or isn't. I haven't thoroughly done my research, but the U.S. government has done that.
saw all of the evidence that I presented, and they're scared. So when this audio of his was sent to me, and since he decided to throw insults instead of educating the people listening as to why he knows that I am wrong and can prove it, but he didn't, I decided to respond to his insults in a professional manner. That actually pissed him off, of course, because I informed the people about why foundational Black Americans do not exist.
So, how does this life insurance...
Okay, I gotta skip through this, so give me just a second. Because your boy is making low. Well, he's making money. Anyway.
Just wanted to have a conversation with you guys about a couple of things here. I just wanted to bring this up to let you guys know that, don't get distracted by certain things that you see. Because a lot of people are in it for different reasons, okay? A lot of them cannot regurgitate particular information that I even present to you guys because they're not really historians or they're not really researchers. They're in a totally different field and they're in it for the money. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, because they will switch up every 3 years in order to keep their crowd moving. But with...
On a side note, people that know how to hypnotize you, they use music exceptionally well. Tariq used to say, let me put my Mackin music back on so I can brainwash y'all the way I do them hoes. I observe also, Dane has a very opera-like melodic beat in the background, just on a side note.
Me, of course, I've been stating the same things for quite some time now and been presenting a lot of factual information that you guys can go back and check up on, and which I highly recommend and always do so. I always tell you not to believe anything that I state. I want you to write it down and look it up for yourself. You are responsible in that sense. But yeah, I mean, the majority of the information that I present, a lot of people are banking on, which is a great thing. And then there are people that state that they don't listen to me and they turn right around and regurgitate verbatim, damn near, the information that I present. So I know they're listening to me and it's hilarious because what they're trying to do is just overstep their boundaries and they can't answer particular questions. So they'll...
Now, if a person states a fact, a single individual is not the owner of a fact. This is something Black men are bad at doing. It's like you have to be the one to receive the credit. Okay, the Olmec came into Mexico, 1500 BC? You realize how many people have said that? If you make a documentary and if somebody else stands up during a lecture and says a bunch of the stuff that you said during the documentary, those are basic. In order to find that out, you both had to research. Maybe y'all read the same book. So y'all sound alike. You know, two artists who use the same DJ are going to kind of somewhat sound alike. Just on a side note, I'm going to skip forward a little bit because this is a whole bunch of me exaltation.
That you're black. That is not your skin complexion. One, you shouldn't be trying to call yourself by your skin complexion. Two, three, where does it state that a black person or a black citizen has any rights? I dare anybody to look that up. You're not going to find it. It doesn't exist. And this is a public service announcement to those of you that feel comfortable with calling yourself these generic terms, these social constructs, but yet you want things to change, but you're not making changes for yourself right now. And then you want to turn around and call people like me who are letting you know that this is totally incorrect. You want to call us radical. Oh, he's against the people. I'm not against the people. I'm for the people. I wouldn't be stating this otherwise. If I wasn't for the people, I would tell you to continue calling yourself black, knowing that it's not working with you and it's working against you. You know, and that's how you can tell who your real enemy is. I put out a lot of information in multiple different ways, even government records, government documentation, to prove to you that these are nothing but social constructs. I have videos out on the census and the census records and their enumerators. From the time it started till now, their instructions, I went over their instructions. Well, how they had to categorize our people by somebody else's labeling, by somebody else's classifying. We did not agree to this, guys. We never did. So we shouldn't have to settle just because it's more commercially known, or rather commonly known. We shouldn't have.
Okay, I'm going to kind of stop it right here. I could let a whole lot more of it go on. Here's my issue with what he's saying. And it's the same thing that I tell smart mouth Caucasian men who try to say, well, Africans sold Africans, and it was the Democrats who enslaved black people. It was the leftists, the liberals, this, that, and the third. I tell them that racism doesn't have a political affiliation, and that what Dane is doing here is that he's removing, this is why I can be sometimes suspicious of the brother, because he's removing the burden of responsibility away from the overall system that is miseducating you. The thing about the people that we come from, regardless of whether they're indigenous to America or whether they came from another continent, it doesn't matter, is that when they persisted and survived through whatever they survived through, their survival made the system had to design its racism, if you will, to be systematic. That's the only thing that you're, explaining with all this black this and black that. I get him. I get him. I don't disagree with nothing that he's saying right now. I disagree with who he's married to. And if you follow this channel, I do not dick sweat brothers. I believe there should be a constitutional amendment against dick sweating black men. But in the case of Dane Calloway, he is the leader, ideological leader of a specific ethnic movement. It looks strange. It's kind of like if a Chinese national is married to a Mexican or something. It just looks strange. But he moves the focus to our ignorance. And like I said, we're just a small, conscious, itty-bitty community. You know, the entire Marcel Dixon campaign, that guy in Carolina, it proves it. That's what I hope that people got out of that. That dude got a few thousand votes. Clybourne swept the floor with that dude. We're a itty-bitty small community, so whatever message that either he or Tariq Nasheed gets to the people, it's going to a very small number of people. We would be better served squashing all of this beef. And man, look, whatever you want to call yourself, dude, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Please, let's not become like warring parties in the Congo where you got 12.5 different groups. It's a group called the March 23rd group. And man, every which type of group. Even Zulu elder Credo Matwa says he don't understand the tribal madness going on in African countries nowadays. It's insane. But we don't need to deteriorate to that, and we need to keep the focus on the people who would miseducate you on who you are and your history. The people who would make up the Harriet Tubman lie, if that's the case. You know, I don't put it past them. They'll do that. They'll do that for Southern slaves. If they start fighting, they'll make up a story about a woman who's freeing the slaves. That'll probably motivate the blacks in the South to leave. And then the South will lose their economic base, and it'll be harder for them to fight. So it's very possible that Harriet Tubman could be made up, but I'm focusing on the people who made her up, the people that took our land, the people that enslaved us, the people that miseducate us, the system that overall does that. Because Tariq says it's a system of white supremacy that has to be replaced with justice. See, he's making money off people. See, he ain't got you no reparation strategy, but he done came out with a museum, a book, and now another film. You know, he's got plenty to sell you, but he ain't got no strategy. But anyways, let's focus real quick on this family that you're looking at, because I know you've been probably oddly looking the whole time. This is a girl that I once knew, you know what I'm saying? Old friend of mine. We didn't date or anything, but just an old friend of mine. She's buck ass crazy. Her mama was a very pitch black skinned woman, but she had straight hair. And her mother's hair was, like I said, it was straight, and her eyes were grayish blue. Her sister looked like a common everyday black female. You could look in her face and you could see her grandfather, who was like a Neachacites or something. I don't even know how to pronounce the tribe, but you could just see the point. Like, her grandfather he was of another racial group, and what happened was that he got her mother and a friend of her mother pregnant, and all of them are brownish looking people with many of them, some of them got kinky hair. Most of their hair is curly. Some of them got long hair. If this is the claim that you're making the claim that somebody black along the line somewhere slept with somebody of another race that was also occupying this land. Maybe this was common among them, or maybe there was a point at time in which a group of people were bought from somewhere who interbred with these folks. Dude, you're looking directly at the families. We walk around these folks all the time, every day. You just call them beige, you know, a little bit reddish. But overwhelmingly, I will outright tell you, Native Americans chose to sleep with white folk. They did it in Mexico. They did it in America. That's the whole Pocahontas story, you know. They are an ethno group of people, most of the Native Americans, who were not bought here in the 1970s. You know, just like white racism is not something that was just systematically created. They was doing blackface in the 1920s. They called black people black, or the blacks in Spain, blackamoors in the 15 or 1600s. Way back in Greece in 1000 and 1500 BC, you've got, you know, blackface images of Ethiopic people. You know, so racism isn't nothing new. It doesn't care. You know, if you look at liberalism, once upon a time they criticized Democrats. Then they start calling them leftists and blamed everything on leftists. Immigration, racism, crime, communism. And then they start calling them liberals. And then they blame everything: communism, crime, diversity, affirmative action. And now they call them woke. You know, gay marriage, you know, diversity, affirmative action, Black Lives Matter. They hate all of that. They just call that woke. It doesn't matter what they call it. They still have the same hatred for it and recognize it as the same. It doesn't matter what they call you. You know, the system that they have in place that miseducates you is there because of a natural hostility that they have against you. Doesn't matter how well you can describe it or how well you know the laws of the system. That system dislikes you and wants to advantage itself above you at all times by any means. And yeah, man, I would say that roughly a third to probably half of Black American people, so-called Black American people, you know, are probably mixed with Native, and I would say that maybe 15 to 20% of us or so are mixed with white. It is what it is, and a lot of Native people who are the children, the mixed children of Native women, got classified as simply Black, and people rail against that all the time. But overall, until you confront the system, you can say whatever you want to say. You still gonna be considered whatever they call you until you get your followers and get your money and get your institutions together. I'm out.